Get ready for more valuable financial insights from Northern California's premier retirement income planners, Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, owners of Peak Financial Freedom Group. For more information, go to peakfin.com. And now, here's Dan and Jim.
We'd like to welcome you to the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. I'm Dan Ahmad here with my partner, Jim Files. We have to thank all of you for listening. Some of you might be listening for the first time today, and we have other people that have been listening for years and years and years. Either way, we welcome you. We're going to give you a lot of data so that you can then learn more about your money and make the big decisions that will help you avoid those financial mistakes that could ruin your retirement. And we'd like to put a special shout out to those people who have been listening to us for a while, because we have people that listen for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. And then they decide, they finally call in and say, hey, I need some help. Well, we want to make sure, if you have questions or need help, don't wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Call now. You can simply dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money. That's pound 250 and keyword money. And you can do a couple things. One, you can ask for a free second opinion about your money. We'll tell you without any obligation or cost exactly where you stand. You can ask for a free, comprehensive, customized retirement income plan. And again, there's no cost, no obligation to do business with us. You can also now ask for a free copy of our most recent book called The Golden Promise, and it'll teach you in literally 2 hours exactly what you need to do to create a customized, comprehensive written retirement income plan and the need for that. We're the only group out there that we know of that's really pushing and marketing the fact that we will provide you at no cost, no obligation, a free customized retirement income plan that will allow you to stop worrying about your money so much. So today, that's going to actually be the topic of the whole show, Jim. It's going to be a customized plan. So why don't you give us a financial tidbit of the week, wisdom of the week, so that we can get the show started?
Well, this is a great saying that comes from Eleanor Roosevelt. It says, it takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. And we talk about this every single week, Dan. People wish they could make sure they don't lose money in a market crash, or don't lose very much. They wish they have enough income for the rest of their life. They wish. But you can take that energy you're pushing into wishing, and you can sit down with us and we'll take that same energy or less and build a full plan for your future. But people just don't do it for some reason.
Well, I'm going to differ from Eleanor, and I'm going to say, I think it takes twice as much effort to wish than it does to plan, because if you're wishing, you're thinking as much about the positive outcome as you are worrying that it might not happen. If you're planning, the whole focus is on how do you make a positive plan, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about planning constantly at our show, right? It's kind of like real estate. I don't know if you've heard this saying before. In real estate, everybody tells you the three most important parts of real estate investing is location, location, and location, right? And we all know that. Now, some of us make a bad decision and we buy in the wrong location, and years later we realize we made a mistake. We can't sell the house for what we thought we're going to sell it for, or the piece of property. Why did we do that? They're no different in retirement. It's about the three major concerns or major attributes of being a successful investor when you get close to retirement is income, income, income. How do you make sure you have enough income for the rest of your life? And that's exactly what we do here. We'll show you with great certainty how you're going to generate income, where the income is going to come from, and how it's going to last the rest of your life. We'll put that in writing. We're going to sign off on it so that you feel comfortable. We're confident that these plans work, Dan.
Well, what you just said is exactly what we believe in. So I want everyone who's retired or getting ready to retire to just think about the next 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, or 40 years, however long you think retirement's going to last. And I want you to envision what you want to make sure happens and what you want to make sure doesn't happen. And what's the number one thing? Well, the number one thing is you're going to want to make sure your income lasts at a high level for as long as you live, no matter how long you live. The thing you don't want to happen is your income runs out before you die.
Yeah.
And if those are your biggest needs, you better focus every single part about your plan and have everything in writing, a comprehensive written retirement income plan that's going to give you the highest probability, even guarantee you will not run out of income for as long as you live, and guarantee that the money will last at that high level for as long as you live.
If you think about our current state of the world today, our economy, you look in the fact that we still have elevated inflations. We look at two major wars around the world. They're escalating. We look at the fact that there's conflict between the different parties out there, the Democrats and the Republicans. They don't like each other. we look at all the things that are bad, but for some reason, Dan, the stock market keeps on going up. Now, you tell me why that's so. Do you think that because of all these bad things that we're engaged in right now, and the stock market keeps on going up, do you think the stock market could turn around and go down real quickly? And the answer is, if you're listening, every single one of you that are listening say to yourselves, yes, it could go down, but you're basing your future strictly on the fact that that stock market is going to keep on going up. So what we're telling you to do is that, listen, you've made money now. How do you take some of that money off the table? And how do you reposition those assets? Not that you get completely out of the stock market. We're not advocating that. We manage hundreds of millions of dollars in the market, right? But we are advocating the fact that you need to reduce your risk. You need to take your assets and redeploy those right now before you lose a bunch of money so that you have enough income for the rest of your life.
Well, and if you don't, and everything works out, which it could, then great. The problem is, do we really think for the next 30 years the market's going to just go straight up and never have any more declines? And we don't
Nope.
think that, because since 1929, the statistics, historical stock market shows that. Since 1929, on average, every 5 years, the stock market drops 39%. Well, if that's true, which is true, it's just a statistic, it's just a fact. If that's true, how in the heck should you invest your money for retirement if you're going to plan to use your nest egg for income? And it can't be that way. You cannot have 100% of your assets in an asset that historically has gone down 39% every 5 years and a hope that everything's going to work out. If everything's great, it'll work out. The problem is you can't plan that way. We are going to always plan on a worst case scenario, because if we can make the worst case scenario work, and you have more income than you're ever going to need to spend for as long as you live, that's awesome. Because if we do better than the worst case, you're not going to be mad at us. You'll have more income or more assets left. But you better plan on the worst case, because once you're retired, you don't get do-overs. You don't get to make up for mistakes when you're retired, because you no longer have time on your side. You're no longer working. You're no longer making a salary, and you're no longer feeding money into your 401k. You're dragging money out of it. So at this point, you better make sure you're making those right types of decisions.
We're not saying get all the stock right. What we're saying is understand the risk you have, understand your income need, know what your budget is, look at longevity. How do you withstand the fact that you're going to be pulling income off your assets? And how do you remodel or restructure your portfolio so you still maintain assets in the stock market? But how do you reposition other assets to get you enough income that will last for the rest of your life? So let's talk about that. We've talked about this on the last show, is that on income distribution rates. So when you're looking at safe withdrawal rates, so if you have a portfolio of stocks and bonds, what they're saying is that, and they use what are called Monte Carlo mathematical simulation models. And it really is just a big bucket. They throw in some cash, they throw in some stocks, they bond, they stir it up with their paddle, and it spits out all this data and said, if you live 30 years in retirement and you're taking out X amount of money, what's the chance of you actually running out of money? Well, it used to be 6% back in the 80s because interest rates were real high. So if you had $1 million in assets, you could take out $60,000 a year. But then that reduced to 5%, then 4%. The safe withdrawal rate today is actually 3%. So if you have $1 million, you can take out 3%. But if you have $1 million, 3% is only $30,000 a year. But Dan, talk about quickly before we run out of time in this segment, talk about distribution rates on different asset classes that we're using right now in plans.
Sure. Most people, like you said, are coming in and they either have 2 bits of data from their advisor or from where they gather data. They're like, okay, I've heard safe withdrawal rates are 3 or 4%, and we think they're closer to the 3% than the 4% to be conservative. But then they go to their 401k advisor or their 401k setup, and it shows, oh, we can take out 7% and you're going to double your money by the time you're dead. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. So what we have to make sure is whatever data you're relying on, you have to have it in a plan in writing, and you have to be able to read it, and it needs to be specific in stating how much income are you going to get out, and on a guaranteed basis, will your income last for as long as you live, no matter how long you live, even if you live past 100. So if you think about that, nothing you're doing right now does any of that.
No.
Literally zero. And it's what we know in your head and your heart and your stomach you want. And we know what your spouse in his or her head, heart, and stomach wants. They want the guarantee of a high level of income that'll never reduce for as long as they live. So what if right now we can get, based on how much money is contributed and based on when you take your income out and based on your ages, what if you could get 7% income guaranteed payouts, 8%, 9%, 10%, or more income payouts? I just designed a plan for a couple. He's 72, she's 70. They're going to put their income in. We're going to use assets they have in the bank and the stock market first. We're going to use these guaranteed income payout rates. And if they defer it for 5 years, they're going to be close to a 13% guaranteed payout rate for as long as they live. The guy, the husband who was very aggressive, couldn't believe it because he's like, that's like 4 times more than I can take out of any other asset. And he said, it's guaranteed. I go, guaranteed in writing contractually that this income, once you take it out, will be paid to you and your spouse for as long as you both live. So if they have $2 million, they're going to get $250,000 of income from this plan. And if he dies, she's going to get the $250,000 guaranteed for her life. If she dies, he gets it. And if they both die, whatever's left of their money is paid to the beneficiaries. Isn't that what we all want?
That's what everybody wants, Dan. But people are so complacent. They just think that they're going to stay the course with what they're doing right now. And staying the course with what you're doing now doesn't mean it's not going to work. What it means is that there are other alternatives, and you should educate yourself on these alternatives so that you become knowledgeable so you can make a good decision right now at this point in your life. Because if you're getting close to retirement or you're in retirement, it's all about income. It's an income play for the rest of your life. It's not a growth play.
And it's about guarantees, not maybes and could happen. And I hope it happens. Yeah. It needs to be about contractual guarantees and a plan in writing so you can stop worrying about your money. You're back with Dan Allman, Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And today we are talking about a written, customized retirement income plan, which we can safely say probably none of you have right now, because in 40 years, when we've met with far more than 4,000 people, only 3 people out of 4,000 have had this type of plan, which basically comes down to 0% when you round it. So we know many of you, if not all of you, don't have this. And you might think you have a plan because you get statements, or you have a portfolio, or you have an asset allocation, or your advisor, your 401k company said, let's review your plan. All they're doing is reviewing your account. A written customized plan is going to cover the major areas of putting together everything in writing so you can understand your money for the first time. So let's just look at some of the things that has to be covered in a customized plan. The first is planned retirement age, or if you're already retired, just state that you're retired. And planned retirement age, if you haven't retired, we find so many people who have been good savers not showing or not predicting when they can retire accurately. And a lot of people want to retire as soon as possible. I had clients come in, they're 60, and they really wanted to retire as soon as possible. But the guy thought, we have to work to 67 because that's when we can get our full retirement from Social Security. And while he was accurate in that that's what's called normal Social Security distribution, the time they could retire was not accurate because they had about a $12,000 monthly budget, and their net income right now was about $12,000. So they knew if they keep working, they can pay for their budget, right? They never fall behind. They had saved really well by age 60. They had almost $3 million saved, no pensions, Social Security. We created a plan for them that showed they could retire right now, and they'll have $15,000 a month of net income after taxes. So they can continue to work and make $12,000 to pay their $12,000 budget, or they can retire now and have $15,000 a month net after taxes to pay for the $12,000 budget. What should they do based on the fact that they want to retire today?
It's a pretty simple decision, right? And this is not just a spreadsheet showing you where your income came from. This is a full planning process. It's going to take your current portfolio, and we're going to do a risk analysis on it. We're using outside third-party firms that will show you how much risk you have, how much you're going to lose in the next stock market crash based on how you're currently positioned. Then we're going to do a new risk analysis with the one we're going to remodel. We're going to do a fee analysis, what fees you're paying now, what fees you don't understand that are hidden fees. We're going to do a new fee analysis with our plan. Then we're going to lay out your income by income source for the next 30 years, by month and by year. We're going to make you do a budget. We have to understand how much after-tax income we're going to need to get you every month and every year for the rest of your life. Then we're going to do, besides the after-tax analysis, we're going to do a legacy analysis. How much money is going to be left to either of the spouses if one of them die over the next 30 years after they've used their assets for income at any given year. And then we're going to do analysis based on what if you both die, what's going to be left to the beneficiary. So we get to see all this in writing. So it's a full comprehensive plan. So you get to see all the digits. It's all math. We're using very conservative numbers. And then when it comes to income, the income is based on contractual guarantees that the income will never run out.
Well, and that's the full comprehensive view that Jim just gave you. But again, it all has to start with if you're retired or what is your planned retirement age, because we have to be able to pinpoint that so that we can then create that plan in writing. If we can't pinpoint what the goal is. And the good thing is, let's say you haven't retired. We're going to go through all those things Jim talked about, but the whole goal is going to be able to now pinpoint in writing when you can retire. So if you're 60 and you think you got to work to 67, but we can show you can retire at 63, that will give you a lot of confidence. Doesn't mean you have to retire at 63. It's just saying you're financially able. And think about then what that would feel like at 63, knowing at any point you could retire and be successful. It'll relieve a lot of the stress and pressure that you could be feeling. So that would be number one thing we'll look at. The second is going to be, okay, what is then your detailed budget? And a lot of you might have a budget that you're following. You know how much you spend. But so many of our clients who have been really, really good savers, they haven't had to follow a detailed budget while they're working, because none of our clients literally overspend and spend more money than what they bring in, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to get in front of us because they wouldn't have been able to save money. They save money because they always spent less than they brought in. They knew if they continued to work, they'd cover their budget. They don't have a lot of consumer debt. They don't owe much, if any, on their home. So they're in a really good position. So they haven't really had to worry about a budget because they had their income coming in, their salary. At retirement, their income's not going to be coming in, their salary stops. So now they have to have a budget. So we know what is our goal to be able to pinpoint. That's our target. What goal do we have to meet, and not just meet, but exceed? Because if your budget's $8,000 a month, we need to create a lot more than $8,000 a month to make you feel comfortable, because that now will define your lifestyle, because lifestyle, Jim, is always based on income.
Yeah. But if you have all this in writing, if personalized, this is customized for every single client individually, would it make you feel more comfortable knowing that if the market goes down significantly, you'll know how much money you're, at least historically, how much you're likely going to lose? You get to tailor that now. You get to tell us, Jim and Dan, I'm not willing to lose 30% of my money, or 25 or 20 or 15. You get to decide how much money you want to lose if the market goes down. And then from that and your budget and your age, we can reposition the portfolio to meet the goals of the consumer. And it's not difficult for us to do it because we've been doing it for decades, but it is difficult for the consumer to understand how to do it themselves. We will do it for you. There's no cost. All you have to do is dial pound 250 on your cell phone, say the keyword money, set an appointment, and we can walk through this process with you.
Yeah, and do the same thing. If you want a free copy of our book, The Golden Promise, which details a customized written plan, dial pound 250 on your cell phone, say the keyword money, and ask for a free copy of the book so you can review it. It takes about 2 hours, and it'll put you in a really good position. When you're talking about lifestyle and income needs and the budget, so many advisors just skip past that because they want to focus on the investments, the allocation, your portfolio, and growth. And that's great if you're 20, 30, or 40. You really don't have to worry about things. But at retirement, the number one most important document of our entire planning process is your budget. So we can't create a plan without knowing what an actual accurate budget is, because our whole goal is to make sure you have more than enough. Not only can we meet your budget, but more than enough. I just created a plan for a couple. Their budget was fairly high, about $15,000 a month, and they didn't think they could even get that out of their plan. We built a plan that gave them $25,000 a month of net after-tax income with a $15,000 budget. How would you feel if you had $10,000 more to spend after taxes and after paying your budget in retirement? And I bet you feel pretty good. You're back with Dan Allman, Jim Files, Peak Financial Freedom Hour, and we're talking about a customized written retirement income plan to help you feel 100% comfortable that things are going to work out in retirement. So you talked briefly earlier, Jim, about risk tolerance and fee transparency, basically knowing how much risk you're taking, then be able to pinpoint how much risk you really want to take. And then the most important part is remodeling your portfolio to make sure you're not going to take more risk than you want. And for most of our clients, they adhere to our golden rule of 5 to 10%, which simply states we never recommend you take more than 5 up to a maximum of 10% risk in your portfolio. What does that mean? Well, if the stock market crashes 50% and you have $2 million, you're going to lose $1 million. If you have a 5% risk factor, it's going to be projected that your potential loss, if the stock market goes down 50%, is 5%, which on $2 million means your potential loss drops from $1 million to $100,000. And if your loss drops from $1 million to $100,000, we have significantly higher probability things are still going to work out okay.
And you know, so many people out there that come in, they're thinking about retirement. They're in their early 60s, and when we ask them how much risk they have in their portfolio, they have no idea how to answer that question. Right? They end up answering, "I don't think I can lose that much money because I have one of these target date funds." Well, all the target date fund is, it's a fund that's made up of stocks and bonds, right? So as you get closer to your target date, maybe that's 2030 and you want to retire, your portfolio gets less and less risky. But even if you have a target date of 2026, 1 year, you still have 60% equities, which means you still have about a 38% risk factor, which means if the market goes down by 50%, you better be in a position to lose 35 to 40% of your money, because you're going to, based on all the analytics. So is that a lot of risk for you at your age? And I would say most people, if not every single person we've talked to, when they see that they have a target date fund and they have a risk factor of 35 to 40% or even greater, it pretty much freaks them out, Dan, when they see that.
Well, they never thought they had that much risk. They knew they had risk. They just didn't know they had that much risk. And literally, you can see the shock on their faces, the fear on probably 80%, 20% are kind of like, okay, I thought I had risks. I just think that much, but okay, I have that risk. 80% of the people, though, 8 out of 10 people, they look at it and they just can't believe it, especially if they're managing the money themselves. And one of the spouse is in charge of managing the money. The other spouse doesn't know anything about it. Our process forces both spouses to understand exactly where they stand now. And let's say the spouse that was taking the risk is comfortable with a 40 or 50% risk. Is there any way possible the spouse is going to be comfortable with a 40 or 50% risk of their retirement dollars?
Nope.
There's no way. It'd be like if you went home and showed Tammy, hey, Tammy, if the market crashed to 50%, we could lose 50%. I'm fine with that because we can make big gains. She'd hunt you down. She would not let you do that.
Exactly. But that happens with everybody, though. Nobody understands the risk they have if they really said it that way. And that's what they should say. Hey, I have 40% risk, honey. What do you think about this? What do you think the spouse is going to say? You're crazy.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you?
Instead, everyone says the spouse that's doing it or the current advisor of the 401k, hey, we can make great rates of return. You've made 20% over the last year. Great, 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 great. Kind of like what we talked about before. The stock market advertises like the casinos advertise. Mm-hmm. The casinos always advertise, we just have 10 $35,000 winners, or someone just won the $1 million mega slot machine jackpot. They never say, and this poor sucker just lost $750,000 and his life is over. Same way the stock market advertises and advisors and 401ks advertise. Look at these huge gains, go for the big growth. They don't talk about, remember in 2000 when you lost 50% and your account wouldn't have worked in retirement? Or remember in 2008 when the stock market lost 50% and your account wouldn't have lasted through retirement? They don't advertise that. They advertise all the good stuff.
Well, people are they have two modes. It's fear and greed, right? They're fearful of missing out, and they're greedy at this point in their life because the market has been going up, and they want to be on the train. They don't want to miss out. So people are feeding money into this market right now, and the market's running at 30 times next year's future potential earnings, which is double what it should be running at. But people keep on fueling the train. They don't want to miss out, but all of a sudden, the market drops, and guess what? People start making really bad decisions because they start getting out at the wrong time. They think it's going to last forever. I mean, it's a train ride right now, and it's scary because this market is so overvalued and people are positioned so incorrectly.
Well, here's what I want you to think about. The fear and greed, I understand that, especially when you're young, saving money, you have the fear that you're not going to save enough. So the greed is you got to make the biggest rate of return so you have the most money when you retire. Right now, at retirement, or within 5 years of retirement, I want you to also live by fear and greed. The fear ends up being, if you suffer a big loss, is there any chance you think that your money's going to last throughout retirement? And the answer is no. There's such a low probability the money's going to last throughout retirement if you're needing to use it for income. And the greed now has to be switched from maximum growth with maximum risk to maximum income that's contractually guaranteed to last for as long as you live. Payout rates such as 7%, 8%, 9%, even 10% or higher, contractually guaranteed for as long as you live. So if that's our form of greed, will that form of greed give us a better retirement or a worse retirement?
It's going to do a couple things. It's going to give you substantially more income based on the analysis you did, and it's going to reduce your fear, reduce your stress substantially as well. Because if you have enough income coming in to meet all of your budget requirements and have excess cash flow on an after-tax basis above that to do things that you haven't even dreamed of, or to have a cushion there in case something happens in the future and you need more income, you are going to feel really good about your retirement if you know that portion of income is going to be guaranteed. You will feel that. If you think you can have enough income coming off your stock portfolio, but it's not guaranteed, you will have a different frame of mind. You will have a different stress level because you will be basing your entire life on the stock market, and you're going to hope it works out. And it might work out. We don't know that, right?
So how about this for an example that just pinpoints what you're saying? Had a client, they had saved $1.5 million. They're 62. They didn't get any pensions. They're going to get Social Security. They work hard. They make about $8,000 net between them, and they don't think they can ever retire. We did a plan and showed them they can retire next year as of 2026, and their net income after taxes is going to be $12,000 a month, not $8,000, but $4,000 more. If that's you and you're in that kind of position, what decision would you make? You decide that it's a great thing to retire, and we can pinpoint that by creating in writing a customized retirement income plan that'll show just that. So now these people can retire. You're back with Dan Ahmed, Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. Thanks for listening today. Today we are covering the importance, the mandatory need of a customized written retirement income plan. And if you'd like to read about this, feel free to call us at pound 250, say the keyword money, and we will then get you a copy of our most recent book called The Golden Promise. Easily readable, digestible. In 2 hours, you can read the whole thing, and it'll teach you what you need to know to understand how to create a customized written retirement income plan. It also will teach you in writing all the promises we make and guarantee to anyone who comes and desires a second opinion from us and or desires an actual written retirement income plan at no cost, no fees, and no obligation. So let's continue on with the next segment of today, Jim, and that is, what about if we're talking about two things, feelings and emotions connecting to your money, and then the desire for financial legacy to our loved ones? So they kind of tie together. So let's start with feelings and emotions connect to your money. You've always been told 100% of the time, never, ever, ever allow emotions and feelings to enter into your decisions about your money. You need to, just make all logical decisions. I think that's the dumbest thing anyone can ever tell you, because every single decision you make about your money is emotional. Every single decision. To buy a house, it's not just financial, it's emotional. Oh, you love it. It's beautiful. You're going to feel proud. To get married, the type of health insurance you get, to help your kids through college, to help your kids buy a house, to help the grandkids go to college, gifting, buying a car, all these things are as much emotional as financial. So you want to make sure you're making the right financial decisions and have all the recommendations in writing, so you have positive emotional outcomes from those decisions versus making mistakes and having negative emotional outcomes. And if you do that, you'll be a lot happier. Let's now, Jim, why don't you start discussing the desire for financial legacy? Because I'd say probably 8 out of 10 of our clients, they want to leave money to the beneficiaries. 2 out of 10 say, I just worry about myself. If anything's left, fine. If not, I'm okay with that also. But let's talk about then the desire for financial legacy and how, if we create a plan, we can show them that we can meet all their goals, which is more income than they need and guaranteed to last for as long as they live, and still be able to have a high probability of leaving money to the beneficiaries.
We often ask our prospects, would you rather have a lot of excess cash flow right now above what you're going to need to help your grandkids and your children today while you're living? You get to see it, you get to feel it, you get to see their happiness, you're happy. Or would you rather leave a bunch of money when you die and hope that they're going to use it correctly? And when it's stated that way, most people say, well, I want both, right? You do want both, but really most people want to give money away right now that want to leave money to the beneficiaries, as long as they know their life is taken care of. Because we have to make sure your life, the person that we're meeting with, the couple, your life is taken care of right now, that you can see categorically, contractually, that you're going to have enough income for the rest of your life so that you will feel comfortable giving away money now while you can appreciate, right? But the people that want to give money away when they pass away, they're worried about their life now. So how do you integrate both of those so that we can do both, so that we can give away money now as we're living, help our children, help our grandkids? It'll make you feel better. It'll make them happy. It'll make you happy, but also have enough income for the rest of your life, and also be able to leave money when you pass away in a lump sum. And that's what we do here, Dan.
Well, the key is right now, if you ask yourself, will your loved ones need the money more 30 years down the road, or do they need more help financially now? And across the board, as always, they need more help now. Even if they're doing well, fine. If we start gifting lifetime gifts now, they can use it to pay down their mortgage, save for their kids' education, buy the new house that they want, all those types of things. My mentor, his name was Bob Asperity, and he was considered one of the most prominent estate planner attorneys in the United States. He did Dick Cheney's personal estate planning. And for some reason, he took me under his wing and said, hey, I'll be your mentor. And I was happy with that. And he taught me what, Jim, you just said. The most important thing I learned from him was the only way you can help a family that's accumulated a lot of assets to feel free, it's okay to give some of those assets away before they pass away, is to make sure you document in writing that the family has enough income and has more income than they're ever going to need, and it's going to last for as long as they live. And if you can now show that and put in writing, if someone's budget is $10,000 and we give them $20,000 a month of net income after taxes, what can they do with that excess 10,000? Well, many things. They can spend it on more trips. They can spend it on family trips, which they like to do. They can save or invest some of it, and they can definitely start an actual lifetime gifting plan that allows them to give the money now, because like you said, makes you feel so much better. We just started lifetime gifting plans last year with our daughters, and it made just a huge impact on their lives. Just talking about it and then implementing it just made a huge impact. We'll continue to do that because we know they need more help now than they need 30 years down the road. They'll still get a lot of money 30 years down the road, but I want to help them now because I get to feel it. If I'm dead, I'm not going to get to feel what that does for them. And I want to make sure that I see it and feel it, and I see that their lives are better. So that's the key, putting things in writing. And I'd say the majority of our clients, if they have beneficiaries, they love the idea of lifetime income, but it's never been even approached or talked to them because no one's ever been able to show them that they have enough income to be able to do this.
Yeah. I mean, if you're listening right now, you're saying to yourself, well, I want to make sure my life is taken care of first. And you're right. We have to make sure your life is taken care of first. And we can show you that in writing. It's detailed. You'll understand it. You'll comprehend it. You'll believe it. And then once you understand that, particularly if we can get you a lot of excess cash flow each month after tax, you will then start to live out your dream, if your dream is to help your grandkids or your kids out. And you can do it now and appreciate that now, like we do for our families, because it will make a world's worth of difference in your emotions and how you look at life if you know you can do that, Dan.
Across the board. And, you have to look at what is the single reason you started saving money in the first place. It was to make sure that you were able to enhance your lifestyle or the lifestyles of your loved ones or charities at some point during your life or when you're gone. So you have to position your assets in a way that will make you feel comfortable that it's okay for you to spend it. And just as importantly, it's okay for you to start gifting some of that, because what if we create a plan and your budget's $10,000 and you have $15,000 in net income, $5,000 more? What if this year you spend the $10,000 a month and you gift $5,000 a month? What if next year you do it again? And what if every year for the rest of your life that income is going to come in? Think about how that would feel, because you never have to worry about yourself or your beneficiaries.
For more information about Peak Financial Freedom Group or to schedule a consultation, just go to our website, peakfin.com. That's peakfin.com. And thanks for watching.